Hey everybody, it's me, Dr. Whimsy with Broke Aristocrats, and this is the first video I'm doing that is not the introduction, where I talk about the ways in which I decided to not be following the Dave Ramsey program. Dave Ramsey would be very disappointed in me, and I do apologize to him. I think he's doing great work, and he did inspire me, and I do listen to his program, so no disrespect intended at all, but I am a little different. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. The number one thing that I don't do that Dave Ramsey encourages is I did not decide to get rid of credit cards. I just didn't. When I started my debt journey, I think I had something like 3 or 4 credit cards. I didn't have a lot of them. I paid them off, I chopped them all up, and then I kept one for my business that had a really good interest rate. And I don't carry it on me. It's not on my person. I don't use it. I'm not a big spender. I don't enjoy shopping. I don't have a problem. My problem is that I have no problem with shopping. Yeah, it's not an issue. I actually don't agree with him for myself. If it works for someone else, fine, no judgment. But I think it's great to have a good FICO score, and I'm very happy to be having a good FICO score. That doesn't make sense to me, wanting to get rid of my credit, wanting to get rid of my FICO score, getting rid of credit cards. If somebody is out of control because they're addicted to shopping and it's a control issue or something, I understand why somebody would need to chop up and get rid of all of their credit cards. But if you don't use your credit card, if you don't have credit card debt and it's not an issue, then I think it's a good idea to establish good credit. Dave Ramsey likes to encourage people to put 20% down, I believe it is, on their homes and to buy without credit. I never really personally understood the sense in all of that. If you're going to be borrowing money anyway, why not have a good FICO score? So I didn't, why make it harder than it needs to be? That doesn't make sense to me. If the underlying issue is that you have an obsessive compulsive need to shop, then that is the issue. I'm talking as a doctor now more than anything else. If there's an actual addiction involved, then I think the addiction needs to be treated. So the problem isn't the credit card, the problem is the addiction. And addiction can express itself in all kinds of ways. For some people it's shopping. It's that high of being able to spend money. If you don't have that issue and you're responsible and you have a credit card that you keep around, you pay it off, and it has a good interest rate, and you've got a great FICO score, then when or if you decide to buy property, absolutely, if you can put 20% down, that's a good idea. I've done my homework. 20% is a great idea. But you're going to be making your life a lot easier when you do take out a mortgage. So yeah, I don't have a problem with having a credit card. I don't use it. I do like the fact that I do have a large line of credit in the event of an emergency. I'm going to talk about emergency fund right after this, but in the event of an emergency, I also have a credit card, but I do not rely on my credit card for emergency. I know that sounds a little strange, but it just makes me feel good that I've got a line of credit for the business. The card is for the business, and I've got that. Number two has to do with, my number two way in which I'm different has to do with the emergency fund. He recommends starting at $1,000. I don't think $1,000 of an emergency fund is anywhere near how much of an emergency fund you need if you're living in Los Angeles, where a 1-bedroom apartment can run you anywhere from $1,600 to $2,000 a month. So if something were to happen to me, I would be in a lot of serious trouble if I only had $1,000. So what I did, which was a little different than Dave Ramsey, I started with an emergency fund of $1,000, and then I began to pay off my credit cards. But every month as I paid off my credit cards, I continued to build my emergency fund, put a little bit of money, whether it's $50 or $100 aside, so that eventually I would have a large emergency fund of, ideally, at the very least, 3 to 6 months worth of cash that you can get a hold of in the if something should happen, keep building your emergency fund while paying off your bills. That's what I did. I can't tell other people what to do. I'm not a financial advisor, but that worked for me, and it continues to work for me as I pay off my student loan debt. I will always pay myself first, and so I am building my emergency fund every month. I am putting money in that piggy bank every month from the initial $1,000, and yeah, that's the story. I'm not going to start with, I'm not going to just be happy with $1,000. $1,000 is what you start with, but if you're living in a major city, $1,000 is not going to cut it. So continue if you can, even if it's $1, $2 a month to build it. That would be, if you're doing a program like me, that's what you would do. Number 3 is I pay myself first. So I agree with people here on YouTube that you take care of your 4 walls. You make sure your rent is taken care of, your lights, etc. Don't get yourself in a situation where your basic needs are not taken care of. Put that money aside first. That's the first thing you take care of. The second thing I do is that because I have multiple income sources. I'm in private practice. I work as a private consultant. There's a lot going on with me, but a portion always goes to saving. That's just the way it is. A portion I pay myself first. A portion always goes to my Roth IRA. A portion always goes to my Roth IRA. That is the way it is for me. I'm not going to wait until I pay off hundreds of thousands of dollars in medical school student loans, because it costs hundreds of thousands of dollars to go to medical school. And then, when I'm 75, 80 years old, I'll start building a Roth IRA. For me, in my particular situation, that doesn't work. It's just not going to work. So I pay myself first in my emergency fund, in my savings. I put money aside for my Roth IRA, my retirement. There's a certain goal I have that will continue to rise, and then I pay my debt. I pay above my debt, and there's a goal I have for my debt. All right. Number 3, the ways in which I'm different, or 4, the way that I'm different than Dave Ramsey is that I don't have a spouse, I don't have children, I don't have a home, I don't have a mortgage. Don't know if I will ever have a mortgage. I'm still iffy about whether or not it's a good financial investment for me in the future. And finally, I think the last thing I would just say is that be flexible. That I think that all the frugal channels are saying things that are great about, the takeaway is to live below your means, but it's different with every individual. For example, the 5th thing I would say is how you handle debt. How I handle debt is I have student loan debt from going to medical school. I'm on repay. So I have my debt forgiven after 25 years, so I'm going to do what I can within my means to pay it off before the given time, because they will tax you and they'll come after you for the interest. So you'll want to take care of it to the best of your ability, but I will never compromise my retirement or my emergency fund or my investments in my own retirement, health, etc., in order to pay it off. The worst that's going to happen is when it comes due, when the taxes come due on it in 72 years, I get on a payment plan for the taxes. So that was my decision. It might sound irresponsible or whatever, but when you're over 50 and you're trying to put yourself on a budget, and if you are on the 25-year repay, we're talking about people with extreme amount of student loan debt. I'm not talking about somebody with 20, 30, 40,000 in debt. I'm talking about somebody 50 plus who's gone to medical school who owes $300,000-$400,000, and you need to take care of your Roth IRA. You need to make sure that in 20 years you're going to be okay, and then everything left over goes to the student loan debt. So again, being flexible, finding out what's right for the individual. Okay, that wraps it up. Those are the top 5 things that I do different than Dave Ramsey. I will say that since starting my private practice a couple of years ago, I see an increase in my income every year, and so that allows me to move towards paying off student loan debt faster. So increasing income, not just living below your means, but increasing your income is a great idea. I think it's a great idea to automate everything so that it automatically goes to your savings, it automatically goes to your retirement, it automatically goes to paying off. Whatever's left over goes beyond what automatically comes out on your student loans. For example, I'm on repay. They automatically take off a certain amount, repay every month. What is left over after I pay myself, that additional money gets tacked on to my student loan debt, and that is how I will get out of debt, student loan debt, way before I'm expected to, if everything goes according to plan. Okay, thanks for watching. I hope that gave you some insights into how I'm a little different than Dave Ramsey. Thanks for watching. Take care. Bye-bye.